My name is Devin Thomas. I'm with the Journalism and Writing Seminars at the Indianapolis Recorder, and today we're talking about bullying. But I was like my only one that feels like the national conversation of bullying is somewhat over-exaggerated. Not that it doesn't happen, but the impact and priority of it is just kind of way out of whack. Like the idea of like legislative action against something like a third grader is kind of over the line.
Their parents should take care of that.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things I feel like would be better taken care of by like individual parents talking to each other than a courtroom.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like some parents never see the fault in their kids, and like they're like the perfect beings. They're like, oh, that's how kids get tough and all that, and I'm like, it's more than that now.
Yeah.
It's also how kids get vulnerable enough to jump off of bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, did that like not used to happen? Because like there's like I'm sure it did, but like for now that there's a national spotlight on it. Like speaking from my experience, like I told someone to like get off my friend's back on Facebook. That wasn't on school premises. I've never talked to her. I've never been in like in her face before. I've never like really talked to her face to face before. And then I get called down the next day for harassment for one instance because I told her just to get off my. I told her she looked like Axl Rose in drag. But
Okay. Maybe that's why.
Yes, that might.
But it was a one time, like, and that didn't like need to spur legislative act. That didn't need to spur administrative action. That like most normal people would have just been like blocked.
Because
and never talked to
she
you.
could have gone through the proper channels of just ignoring you or blocking you or unfriending you.
It's
or
like
whatever.
it's like reporting someone for stalking because they looked at you at Walmart. It's, you know.
I have way too many stalkers.
I think that to an extent it is too much, but I think people have to have examples of like, okay, I think it's more not to just say, oh, I want to send all these kids to jail, oh my gosh. I think it's like, okay, this is becoming a big deal, and I think we just need to make an example out of a few people. And I feel like a few years down the line, it won't be as big of a deal anymore, because, I mean, it'll die out.
Yeah.
It's probably like the whole, every couple of years there's a new social problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 90s it was drugs and AIDS and
Hey, that was
whatever
more
else
80s.
was. What?
That was more 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know much about that. After World War II, my history gets a bit wonky.
But like I feel like it's over sensationalized. Like if any of you have seen the ABC Family Cyberbully.
That movie's funny.
Yes, it is. It's laughable. It's a movie about a girl that gets cyberbullied, but it's obvious the writer of that movie doesn't know what real cyberbullying is.
Why don't you just
and it's
delete our
unintentionally probably one of the funnier movies I've ever
like,
watched.
yeah.
I didn't even finish watching it because then I felt bad for laughing because it's not funny.
No,
it's a movie, Emily Osment from
Hannah
Montana.
Yeah. Oh, what's
Oh,
cyberbullying?
what is
Cyberbullying is like when you harass someone online and make them feel bad, and to the point of it's just it's like verbal bullying face to face, but it's through comment boards on Facebook or other social media. But the writer obviously didn't know what he was talking about, and there's like real cyberbullying. But usually it's kind of, people don't take it seriously, and that movie did a real disservice to people that might actually be being cyberbullied in certain ways and he just made it look really stupid.
Yeah.
Like, she deleted her Facebook?
No.
Like, it was like The Room or Birdemic and how bad the movie was. If you've never seen those, it's just movies so bad that they're good.
Wait, like Tell Me Was So, The Room?
The room, like, you're tearing me apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tell Me Was So.
Yes, yeah. But like, there's one thing, like, she's gonna go commit suicide, and then her friend goes into the bathroom and she yells, "I can't get the cap off!"
Oh, I've seen that movie.
Yes, suicide was averted by childproof locks.
Problem solved.
But And then there gets to the point where, like, the movie, like, clearly goes, like, the woman's trying to get a law passed for cyberbullying, and then the guy goes, well, I mean, it falls under the First Amendment, and they're like, but no, it's like, we kind of have those rights for a reason. Like, I don't think that you don't have the right to not be offended or not, because freedom of speech is a double-edged sword. Like, you know, someone can go say something wrong to you, but you can be able to counter it back and stuff like that. That's the whole idea. You fight speech with speech. You don't fight speech with legislature, because if you fight speech with legislature, people doing those, like, crazy speech, they feel like they're being put down because their truth is so great. Like, that's what the Matt Hentoff from the ACLU put forth, because he was a lawyer who represented the Nazis in Skokie back when. Yeah. Oh, okay. But he was a Jewish man representing the Nazis in Skokie, because they wanted to protest in Skokie, Illinois, where a lot of Holocaust survivors go. And yeah, it's bad and horrible taste, and they are terrible people. The whole consensus would be that. But to take away speech in almost any area is to take it away in others. So you kind of have to be careful about what, just because you feel bad, how it's going to be translated to other areas.
Well, talking about the whole freedom of speech thing, like the Westboro Baptist Church, how they picket in front of, like, dead soldiers' funerals and stuff, like, and just anything, like he said, it is a double-edged sword. And, like, I don't want the government coming into my life saying, oh, you can talk about this and you can do this, but you can't do that. Yeah. And, like, because we want our own freedoms, but...
Does that kind of go with the gun control?
Well, with gun control, it's different, because with freedom of speech, you're not actually hurting.
Yeah.
There's not a physical harm. Sure, you can say there's a mental harm, and that's debatable, and they can hurt themselves, but you're not actually, like... They're not compelled to do what you say, but they are compelled to take a bullet if you shoot it at them. Like, that's just natural law. And, like, the idea with gun control is that, like, statistically speaking, you're endangering others with your own action, where that's where I see the Second Amendment as kind of flawed, because many other countries have systems of gun control and they have much less gun deaths.
Yeah.
Like Japan had 22 to our 11,000.
Yeah. And it's becoming so much of a big deal that, like, kids are finding their parents' guns and they're, like, firing them off and, like, killing each other. Or, like, there was a kid who, like, accidentally killed his mom because he was, like, playing with guns. And I'm like, these are just things we don't need. Like, unless you're hunting, you don't need a gun. And, like, for protection, we'll go take a karate class.
Well, I mean,
that
like,
works.
I think you should be allowed to have guns, but you need to keep them in a place to where your kid won't find them, because there's that little girl that just died that was on the news because they had the gun in the corner. And I'm like, why?
But why do you need one for an
why would it be in the corner, though?
What do you think, Alexis?
The judge that we talked to last week, he was saying how he felt like he needed it to be safe at night. So I just feel like people think that, like, they need it to protect themselves, but you still have to be able to put it in a place where someone like a child can't get.
Yeah, and he's an adult, so I mean, like, I feel like he should have that right to keep him and his family safe. And to do.
I don't see why I have to take a class and get a license to get a car, but I don't have to.
That's a good point.
I don't think we need to outlaw guns completely, but I do think there needs to be a very strict way of getting them. And obviously, if a criminal wants a gun, they're going to get one regardless.
I don't think
but legally putting guns in the hands of mentally unstable people is how tragedies happen. And I think that we're being careless with gun control laws, and with other things we're just like, ugh, whatever.
Yeah, and sometimes just like the what was it, the school, last school shooting. Sandy Hook. Wasn't so the guy that did the shooting, didn't he have a mental issue? But his mom is the one that had the guns, so he didn't legally get it. He just got it from her, and used it that way.
And she should have kept them safe for,
Especially
like,
knowing
locked
that
up.
he had that issue.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's, like, you or your husband, like, you should be the only people that have access to the gun. Like, you should keep it locked up and, like, only know where the keys are.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see why she needs like a Bushmaster AR-15. Like,
Exactly.
She was a hunter, wasn't she?
You don't hunt with that. Like, I mean, it's an assault rifle. Like, if you need more than 20 rounds to get a deer,
Maybe there's
you
some
should,
bears around that area.
maybe you should take up another
Tigers,
hobby. I mean,
mountain
you know.
lions.
I hear knitting's popular.
You know, but
Nice scarves.
it's just, and a lot of, I don't think it's healthy to that contention she put forward to say that their criminals are gonna get a gun no matter what. I think that's not healthy to do because then you're just kind of letting the perpetrators legislate policy if you really think about it.
Well, I'm not saying, but if someone really wanted a gun, you could get one. I'm sure I could go around my neighborhood in like an hour, and I could at least get one if I had like $100 in my pocket.
If you lived in Japan, you
No, you
wouldn't be able
can.
to, though.
Yeah.
That's the whole. The one reason gun control won't work on a state level is because you'll just go to another state and get it from there. Because like our gun culture supports gun cultures in the gun-controlled countries around us. Mexico, their drug cartels basically just go across the border, go to gun shows, and through the gun show loophole, get arm themselves and then use it to kill border agents and U.S. officers.
With the owning of guns, it doesn't necessarily mean that the violence will go up if people own guns. I mean, in Switzerland, they have a militia system, so I think the ratio is like 3 guns to a person. I could be getting that backwards. I'm horrible with ratios, but their gun deaths are fairly low, even with that ratio.
And believe it or not, even in Japan, you can get a gun. A lot of times they don't report the gun crimes in Japan because they actually want people to think that, you know, which it is illegal, but you have gangs in Japan too called the Yakuza, and they have guns. So, and the police carry guns there too.
And England, they have a pretty successful system. Like the police don't even carry guns; they have batons and stuff like that. Due to what was that shooting in the 90s that happened in Scotland?
Oh, Scotland, I don't know.
It was a big one, and it spurred a lot of gun legislation there.
And that American history makes us English. Or Scottish.
I don't know. I don't think I'll ever own a gun, just because I just don't. Like, even if I was put in a situation where, like, my life was in danger, I don't know if I could live with the fact that I could have potentially killed someone, just because that's where my morals lie.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, my mom and dad, like, they keep, like, knives by their bed. Like, I don't think that they feel comfortable with... No, I mean, like, that's legal, right? Yeah, okay.
It's legal to
And,
have
like,
a gun knife.
No.
Otherwise,
And they make me carry a knife around, like, a small, like, just so if I'm ever put in that situation, like, I can protect myself.
Not a full-out gun, though. Like, my
Yeah,
parents, like, I have pocket knives, but
You do? Do you have some now?
No, well, I'm in Indianapolis Recorder. I would hope that I would need a pocket knife here.
I didn't know I was in an internship with ninjas.
Well, I'm just trying not to be a victim. And
How about
I
mace?
I like living.
Stun gun?
Well, I mean, like,
Mace is like honestly worse.
Yeah, I'll end up spraying myself in the face.
and then like that doesn't always stop the person. That's just gonna make them angry. Then I get more violent too.
I mean, unless they're like, if mace doesn't stop them, your pocket knife won't either.
Judo kick.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like, person in 8th grade. Okay. So just wrap it up here.